Welcome to Higher Perspective Chats with Callie and Angela.
So thanks for tuning in, everybody. We thought maybe we just kind of chat a little bit about some of the spiritual texts we have read in the past. Right now we're on A Course in Miracles, and Angela and I have been friends for what, like 15 years now? 15, 16, 7, 15
More,
years?
more.
17 years?
Callie, it's more
18
than
years.
that.
Holy moly, we're old.
No, we're not.
No, we're not.
But it is kind of wild looking back on like how much life we have lived, how
Yeah.
much we've experienced. It is kind of like, whoa, wow. I've been around for a while now.
Yeah.
I've had that feeling before.
We know stuff.
I
We
like
know
to
stuff.
think I do.
Yeah,
I like to think I figured some good stuff out by now, things that are helping me and serving me well.
yeah, I
Yeah.
think you have.
Fun.
I know I have. I feel a lot better. And I think that's what brings us to spiritual texts is just to feel better, in our own skin, to feel better as we interact with other people and always seeking the truth. And like we have been through a journey of different ones and A Course in Miracles is what we're on now, and kind of wanted to share what I my experience with it. Um, so I was first introduced to A Course in Miracles about 14, 15 years ago. A friend of mine was an avid student of A Course in Miracles, and she was a good friend of mine, but I didn't think she embodied the teachings in a way that made me want to study the course. It was only through her that I'd heard about it and oh, it was something, but I wasn't really compelled to like do it or study it because she just didn't seem very happy to me in so many ways. And she, she kind of carried around like a Bible and read from it, whenever we had to like read spiritual things before, when we were coming together in meeting or something. And but she just didn't seem happy. And I was like, well, okay, I don't really like this. But so then fast forward about, I don't like 15, 16 years later, and I had messed up my car. Like I thought I messed up my car. We just brought this brand new car from my dad, and we'd never had a brand new car before, and so it was a really big deal. And it meant a lot getting it from my dad. There's a whole like life um family history behind it. And so I thought I messed it up. And I was just feeling really crummy. And I'm not sure I really messed it up. I just thought I did. And so I was feeling really crummy about it. And my mind tends to obsess about things. And I'm like, I have got to get off of this obsession. I've got to get off. And so I pulled out A Course in Miracles and I started reading it. And it gave me so much peace to just ruminate on something other than I messed up this expensive car that we bought. It was and actually I started getting into it and focusing on it, and I did the lessons before reading the texts for weeks. I think I got to lesson 50. When do they start doing the double lessons where you're supposed to do it like multiple times a day and like they combine lessons?
Oh, you mean like a
Anyway,
review?
yeah, I think I got to the first review and
It's probably
maybe like
like
a week.
50 in, maybe.
Yeah, that's what I was thinking. Like I think I got into 50. And all of a sudden, the lessons were getting more complicated than I had wanted to do at that time.
Hmm.
And I think you really have to read the texts to be able to really apply the lessons. And so it was that point I stopped. But in the meantime, like you and I had talked about it, and we talked about it with some other friends, and a friend of ours wanted to start up a study group on it. And at the time I was like, no, I can't. And so it wasn't like until several months later that we actually came together and we did a study group, and we've been doing it every week, and it's been life-changing and transforming. And none of us really knew. I mean, we'd read it, but we weren't experts in it when we came together. And so we have been learning as we've been going. But the thing about the course that I really like is the application to our lives. You can take the workbook and you can take the texts and you can apply it to what's going on. And I'm a firm believer in that. In any, like, that's why we study spirituality. It's not just something from 2000 years ago, but it's now, it's today, it's how we get through our lives and how we can apply this knowledge to help ourselves feel better. And I have a strong, like, we both have a strong foundation in law of attraction taught by Abraham Hicks, or Esther Hicks through Abraham. And I root everything in from the course that I read in the idea that we're here for joy. And that comes through Abraham from Esther Hicks. And so I also like apply the emotional vi the emotional guidance scale, which says that our feelings are on an emotional scale. And so crummy feelings like hatred and anger and all that stuff's at the bottom, but the bottom is actually the higher number, so like 25. But if you could imagine like 1 being at the very top and then 25, being at the bottom, then like hate and anger and all that is at the bottom. 5 is hope and content, and then 1 is uh, knowledge and passion and excitement and love. And so when I'm reading the text, I'm always thinking, okay, so the ego is at the bottom of this scale, and the Holy Spirit, joy, is at the top. And so we're somewhere in the middle trying to figure out, where is this thought coming from? Is it coming from the lower ego? Or is it coming from the Holy Spirit or God or inner being or our higher self, however we want to phrase that? And so I tend to think of the course as kind of the handbook for doing that, for applying, um, you know, the laws of the universe and being able to like really step into our joy. And, I don't know if we can ever like fully eradicate fear, but have less of it in our lives and promote joy and clarity and peace. And so, the stuff in the course can get really confusing sometimes. And so I always think about that. Like, how can I look at this, whatever it's saying, from a place of joy, from moving towards joy and lightness, and then applying that to our lives.
I'm sorry, did you mention how long ago it was that you had the car upset and then you grabbed the book?
I that would have been like,
Like three,
yeah,
2 years?
3 years, like 24, wait, 20, it's 25 now, 23. So
Okay.
like January of 23.
Okay. Yeah, couple years.
And
Hmm.
like I said, I was doing it every day up until about less than 50, and then it was like, no, I gotta do other things now. And um so I'm glad I was called back in to do a study group with it, because it's been life-changing. I think for me it's taking like the law of attraction, and the law of attraction is that which that which is like unto itself is drawn. That which is like unto itself is drawn. So meaning like things that are like each other are attracted to each other. You just have to find what what it is you have in common, or what it is that's alike about you. And for the longest time, a couple years, like I won't say 6 or 7 years, we did an Airbnb out of my house. So there was a room downstairs, in our right next to our family room. And, I just put it up on Airbnb, and we always got like the most amazing, incredible people that were like us in so many ways. And, we'd get from, all my friends and family, like, how can you do that? How can you let strangers into your house like that? Aren't you afraid they're gonna you know, like, you know, do something in your
Any number
sleep
of things.
and trash your house? Yeah, like, aren't you afraid of all that? And it was like, no, because I have trust in the universe that we're going to get people like us. And that's exactly what happened. So like my husband is a truck driver and he's gone for during the week. And so we get a lot of parents, a lot of like, like moms or dads that were just traveling for work that wanted to be in a family environment. And it was so fun to meet them and they were so appreciative of us for opening our house up. Um, yeah, so I have a gazillion stories like that where, we just met the coolest people. Like so I'm part Filipino. I'm like 50% Filipino, and
I love this story.
I know, we ended up getting a Filipino comedian coming, and it was so funny when he came to the door. He's like, are is it is there another Filipino in Iowa? And I'm like looking at him because he's really tall. Um, I'm thinking, yeah, but are you one? Because you're tall. It was hilarious. Anyway, we had a great time and as a result of our meeting, I ended up doing stand up for the first time a couple months later, and that was hilarious. And I think I have a clip of that somewhere that I should find.
Mm, that would be
Um,
fun.
yeah.
You were great. It was Callie's first time. Not that she hasn't been in front of people before and on a stage. Callie's just great at shooting from the hip and speaking. It's really natural for her. It's a passion. And yeah, she had such a great time. Your first time, everybody. It was so cool.
Yeah, and from that, I got to open up for Yang. Like it was like a year, 2 years later when he was
What's a
running for
yang?
president. Hmm?
What's a yang?
Oh yeah, Yang, yeah, Andrew Yang. He was running for president
Dude.
one of his first stops was Iowa because we were the first in the nation to hold the Democratic primary at the time. And so we had all the candidates coming in that were trying to get the Democratic nomination, and I just was obsessed with him, watching all kinds of YouTube videos, and I just um, volunteered to, hey, if you're ever coming to Waterloo, I'd love to host you. And so I ended up doing that, and a lot of that, and Angela got to come out and be a part of that and help kind of spread the word about universal basic income. And I have a video on that I need to find and post. So yeah, we got to work on that, and that was a lot of fun, and that meant a lot, and that was such a magical time for the both of us, and for really anybody that worked on that campaign. We had so much alike each other and our values,
Yeah.
and just having a great time. I met some of my best friends actually that I didn't know were in this town with me that are now my best friends because we'd worked on that campaign and met. So yeah, it was another time of the universe bringing people that were alike together.
That was such a blessing, that whole experience. It was so fun.
Yeah, that was so fun. But we should do that again. We should do that now. We need to
Right?
do that now.
What if we got the Yang gang together again?
No.
There's a lot of us out there, but
I know.
the Iowa people, yeah. And it's so funny too because I have never been politically involved. I remember being in school and having to learn politics, and I was falling asleep. And I don't mean to come off as someone that's like, I just don't care about politics. That sounds like stupid, because I do love my country and I appreciate what the founding fathers put into our Constitution and that we're all here to be sovereign and free. That's really beautiful. And America is still moving toward that.
Absolutely.
I can feel that despite what things look like with my human eyeballs. And the Course in Miracles is helping me see beyond the craziness I think I see around me because I can feel there's something more going on here. And it's very exciting. It's joy, like you said, Callie. It's about joy.
Absolutely. For those of us that can tune into that joy and see the bigger picture, we got to hang on to that because there's people right now that aren't there, that are on the other side of that, that are, getting deported and all kinds of things and being harassed and, laws that are being passed that are taking away our rights. Um,
And they're
and
scaring people.
yeah, and they're scaring people. And so those of us that aren't in that, we got to hold the light for the people that are going through that. We got to give them our appreciation for going through that and the perpetrators even for doing that. But so that those of us that aren't in it, that can hold the vision, we can clearly tap into it and channel something better for this country. I mean, and it might not come in our lifetime. It might, our kids might have to be the ones to bring it forth, but we got to know that it's coming and that we got to know that like we're getting clearer and clearer about what we want in our country. I mean, I love to see the two-party system revamped and, the corruption out of government and, we elect leaders that we look up to, that we can be proud of and look up to and know that we're safe with them and that we can trust them. But yeah, it's all happening. It's all happening somehow.
Right. And until we have a government like that, if we ever do, and I think we're on our way to that, until then, before we have that kind of security and trust in something outside of us, we cultivate that within and
Mhm.
we feel that and walk that daily as best we can, which is why we read the Course. It's helping us. I feel it's helping us do that.
Yep. Yep. Just the desire for it. And then knowing that we can have what we desire. We can answer, like, God will help us answer our questions and help us fulfill our dreams. And then we can trust in that. Like, we can do that on an individual level. We can absolutely do it, collectively, because like attracts like. The more of us that are doing it, the more of us that are going to come together and make that happen. And then we'll see shifts. It's what did we say? It's 3%. 3% of a population that trends in a certain way creates social change. So it's 3% of it was 3% of uh the population wanting civil rights for civil rights, to become a law. Same thing with Roe versus Wade. It doesn't take a lot. It just takes 3% for for the energy to grow and to catch on. And yeah, and cultivating a spiritual practice, in reading spiritual texts and talking with spiritual like-minded people that we can lift each other up and we can encourage each other. Just spread these ideas of creating something else. I've been reading a lot about history lately, and I think there was people that were like really happy to like cross an ocean and get out of Europe because they were ready to be like start over and do something new, to create something else. They wanted to get like out of oppression and, create a life where they could essentially be free and be, you know, like live how they were envisioning that they could live. And so, we're on the cusp of Thanksgiving here, and we got to get to remember that, like, people came over to create something else. And they, it's probably pretty hard, and it sounds like a lot of them didn't live, but then, you know the Native Americans came to help them, and now we get to celebrate Thanksgiving. So I think I think we can kind of do the same thing. We're not like getting in boats and leaving, but energetically, we're thinking about how we can cultivate the future and create something else and come together with like minds. Um, Even though they could be different from us, we just have to find what it is that makes us alike.
Yes. I think it's safe to say we all want to be happy.
Yeah,
We got that much in common. At
for sure.
peace. Yeah,
Yeah.
beautiful.
So we did our last podcast was on actually thanks, um, and what gratitude,
Gratitude.
gratitude. So
Love
yeah, so
is the way I walk in gratitude.
love and gratitude, the same thing. So check that podcast out. We broke that lesson down, and there was some really great things that came out of it. And I'm gonna see if I can get out. Um, gonna see if we can expand more on this whole idea of gratitude here in the
I
next
love
week or
it.
so. Yeah,
Love it. Always a great topic.